Welcome to Bitcoins and Gravy, episode 43. At the time of this recording, and according to the Zero Block app on my Android phone, Bitcoin is trading at $362. Now that's gravy. Welcome to Bitcoins and Gravy, and thanks for joining me as I podcast today from East Nashville, Tennessee, with my trusty sidekick Maxwell by my side. Say hello, Maxwell. We're two Bitcoin enthusiasts who love talking about Bitcoin and sharing what we learn with you, the listener. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy the show. Here we go. On today's show, I travel out west for a lively conversation with America's own Southern rockin' musician, Shooter Jennings. Shooter is the president of Black Country Rock Media, a fair and intelligently managed music label out of Southern California. Shooter talks to us about the future of music, how Bitcoin is going to play a part in that future, and of course, we talk a bit about good old Nashville, Tennessee. Today on the show, I am more than thrilled to welcome musician, poet, radio host, record label president, and general all-around Southern rockin' badass, Shooter Jennings. Shooter, welcome to Bitcoins and Gravy.
Wow, what an intro. I don't think I've ever had an intro like that. I got to hire you to do my publicity.
Hey, I'll do it, man. You can pay me in Bitcoin.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I would love that. I would love to be able to hire people with the Bitcoin thing because it's such a good, investment and gamble in a way because, not to just kind of jump off, but we put out this single recently called Nashville from Afar, and the day we released it, we kind of flash released it, and we took 50% off for Bitcoin orders. And it was funny because we hold the Bitcoin, but if I were someone who were to sell it, 3 days later, the price jumped up and it would almost match the dollar that you paid, Right. And with PayPal shut our account down because of all the $1 transactions and all this stuff for 2 days. It was such a pain in the ass, and Bitcoin was so easy.
PayPal sucks, but you know what? We still use PayPal because there are times when it's really convenient. But yeah, I first read about you accepting Bitcoin on Reddit. It says, new single, Nashville from Afar, 50% off if paid in Bitcoin. So, of course, I went and I bought it, right? It cost me 50 cents. I mean, the deal of the century. And tell our listeners, if you would, how the song begins.
Goddamn, I hate East Nashville, and goddamn, I love Guy Clark.
Yeah, I love that, man. And it was years ago that I sat and listened to Guy Clark over near Hillsborough Village. He was just stopping by somebody's house up on the porch, and I happened to be walking by. It's like, shit, there's Guy Clark. And I got to sit there and just listen to him pick. It's amazing, man. It's that thrill of hearing somebody that's really good. It's like when I heard that you were accepting Bitcoin, just thrilled. It's like hearing Russell Brand has heard about Bitcoin, and then hearing Shooter Jennings has heard about Bitcoin. To have somebody of your notoriety who knows that Bitcoin exists, this is huge for the Bitcoin world, man.
Well, man, I hope so. I hope that there's ways that I can kind of promote it. I tell you, this is the craziest thing. I knew about Bitcoin, and just like all the people in the world out there, had I bought when I found out about it, I would be a millionaire now. But I found out about it in about 2010. And I even downloaded a Bitcoin wallet because I was really infatuated with it. I was looking around on the tour, and I was looking at the Silk Road and all that. It felt like it was so dangerous and interesting and cool. Yeah. And so I downloaded the wallet, but I never actually knew where to go get it or anything. And so I just kind of let it sit. But I was on my honeymoon with my wife, which we took several months after we got married. And it was in the middle of the year last year. Mm-hmm. And we were in Playa del Carmen, Mexico at a resort. And there was a pool bar there. And I was sitting at the pool bar drinking. And this guy sits next to me and tells me that he works for HP, and his wife dated a really old friend of mine in Arkansas when they were in elementary school or high school. They were boyfriend and girlfriend. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, this is so weird to run into this person here. We start talking about computers. He says, Bitcoin is where it's at. He said, this is the future of technology. And he starts telling me about what mining is, and he starts telling me about the blockchain. And I'm sitting there on my honeymoon, and my brain just lit up. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, this sounds so crazy. So I was in the hotel room half the time on my honeymoon researching this stuff. And I was really just infatuated. See, and because most people think of me as that their preconceived notion of me is that I'm being Waylon Jennings' son, I'm probably motorcycle riding, hunting kind of dude, and I'm not. I'm a computer nerd that lives in Los Angeles and has lived in Los Angeles for 15 years. And when I was a young kid, I used to run a bulletin board service. I used to have a lot of friends and a community online before the internet came about. And then when I moved to LA as a musician, and this is coming back around to that story, I promise. But when I moved to LA as a musician, I kind of like let it slide, and the music thing kind of took the focus of my life and all that. And when this guy tells me this here in Mexico, something just went off in my head. And the more I looked into it, the more I realized, I said, this is my thing. This is it. I understand this. I understand the mathematics behind it. I understand the concept. I bought a couple miners because I was really interested in the concept of that. Not just like, everyone kind of thinks that it's all greed based, but the reality of this is it's kind of like the mining process is similar to that folding at home thing, which everybody was doing with their PlayStations, where you're lending your computer power when you're not using it to, research for cancer and things like this. So in this case, to be part of that network felt really cool. And the technology behind the ASIC miners was really interesting to me, and just kind of testing that around. So I kind of got into mining for a while. I've just started selling them off. I'll buy one here or there just because I'm interested to see how the new ones work and things. But really, like, the blockchain became the thing that I was the most interested in the possibility. But when I saw it, it was like, I was like, this is the thing for me. This is the thing that came along that, most of my friends are not like me, like computer nerds, especially musicians, and they're not into like software and coding and things like that like I am. And I saw this and I just knew it. And it has been that way. And that's why I evangelize. That's why I believe in it. I think it is the most important discovery since the internet. And I think those two discoveries are really pretty much in the last 100 years going to be marked as two of the largest, if not the largest, because I just think that banks will be like Tower Records. Unfortunately, I wish there were Tower Records around. No one's going to wish that there was still a Bank of America on every block, but it's going to fall that way. I really do believe.
Yeah, I think so, man. Everybody knows the banks have too much power. Everybody knows that the game is fixed. Fractional reserve lending, shadow banking. Your average American really just doesn't even know what they do. If our media wasn't so bought and sold, right, or so bought, it would be great to have a show that just comes on once a week, Sunday mornings, that says, hey, here's what's going on. Here's the truth. Here's how banks are ripping us off. Here's how they're ripping us off on Wall Street. Here's how the politicians are taking all these bribes. Wouldn't that be great to have a Sunday morning show like that?
Oh, man. Yeah. And besides that, even just the reality of the Bitcoin thing is the transparency. You can't, all of this business that goes on, if you just look at what's happened with the Mt. Gox collapse and all these things, like, they're still able to track a lot of this money. And you have people who are out there tracking what they're doing with it. And I just think that transparency is so brilliant. I think the blockchain technology is going to be the thing that frees the art community. They're going to figure out, there's a lot of people with music that are trying to do it. There's BitTunes, and then there's peer tracks where they're trying to use it in new ways to kind of create a peer-to-peer music system.
Oh, yeah.
I think that each one of them have good ideas. I'm not, there's still a website and there's still a place that you need to go that belongs to someone else. So there's a centralized angle to it, which I think that's going to go away. However it works, it's going to be brilliant. I can't wait for it to happen. I mean, I think about it every day. I would love to be a part of it, but ultimately I would just love for it to finally kind of set things correct and get these iTunes and Spotify's and all these people out of the picture, I
agree. And I think we're going to have a transition. I think we're transitioning now. I just interviewed these guys from watchmybit.com. So this is such a cool site, and it's still in beta, and they allowed me to go there. I got to pick a video I wanted to watch. I took out my phone, my Mycelium wallet. I scanned the QR code for that video. I paid the content creator 7 cents, and then I got to watch this great video of this girl busking on the street playing a squeeze box, an accordion. Great little song that lasted, 2 or 3 minutes. This made me feel so good. It made me feel like I was tipping somebody on the street, throwing 50 cents or a buck into their guitar case or into their hat. And I thought, cool, that 7 or 8 cents is going to go directly to her. And it made me feel so much better than just sitting there like a couch potato, taking YouTube video after YouTube video, and having to sit through their crappy ads, right? And knowing the advertisers are getting most of the money, and they're sending, 1/1000th of a penny over to the guy who created this. You know what I'm saying? It just made me feel really good to be actually giving somebody money. And the fact that it was so fast using my phone and Bitcoin, it blew me away, man. It was so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's brilliant too. I think that what the problem is, and I think essentially what is going to have to be worked out, is the convenience of YouTube is a mess, because there are people, if you just think about someone who has no idea about any of this, they just assume all musicians are rich and making money out there, and they have a phone, and and their phone comes with YouTube, and they're like, man, I want to hear that Die Antwoord song.
Yeah.
And they like go on their phone and they pull it up and they listen to it with their buddies, and that's the end of the story.
Yeah.
And there's no second thought to it. There has to be an awakening involved in this, in all of this, in a very, social consciousness kind of way that I think is the thing that will change things when people understand that. The reason why the currency side of the blockchain and Bitcoin is so important in getting people to embrace it is because at this point in time, people don't realize that they're not in control of their own money, that they're handing it over, and that they're basically asking for what they need when they need it. Mm-hmm. And I think that when people realize that they can be fully in control, I mean, just going back to that single we put out, and all the hell we had with PayPal for 3 days. They all of a sudden wanted my tax ID because I was getting all these transactions that they're already taking 40 cents on nearly. And all of this, shut us down for 2 days. We lost all kinds of sales, like 40, 50, 60 sales in the first day, just based on the fact that PayPal had shut us down. And Bitcoin went so flawlessly. And there it was. You put out a single and there's all of a sudden money in the account. People don't realize how much easier it could be. I think once people start realizing that they're in control of their money, then things like Watch My Bit, the process can even be more streamlined, similar to the way Change Tip is doing things, because what's so brilliant about that is that's a wallet, that's a Bitcoin wallet that people don't realize that they're having a wallet. They just have an account on the site and they see money floating around. And that's kind of brilliant. I think eventually, if you want to watch it, you just watch it and you know that 7 cents goes out of your account. And once that convenience is there mobily, artists will start not putting their things on YouTube and putting them in these other places.
That's
and
right.
Making sure that they don't end up on YouTube. Just like Taylor Swift pulling her shit off Spotify. I thought that was brilliant. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of other artists are doing it. And it's kind of like a mini mutiny.
Yeah.
And it's like, good for them, man. Nobody signed off on this. No artist signed off on this fucking deal and was like, it's a mess. Like, it's free. You're getting everything for free. Like, I understand. Like, I had people arguing because we're not putting anything else in Spotify as well. And they were like, I would have never heard your music if it hadn't been for Spotify. And this is bullshit. And Spotify is so good for music. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not. I mean, we had that Jamie Johnson, You're My Sunshine thing that we did with Twiggy Ramirez from Marilyn Manson. We put it out. We had like 558,000 spins, and we made $32 off that.
Damn, dude.
And that's like, you know what I mean? That's like, it's not about the money, but it's about like being able to make art and survive off the commerce of that art has gone way down, and that needs to change.
That's right. And you know what? The guys from WatchMyBit.com, I said, do you want me to give a message to Shooter Jennings? I'm going to be interviewing them. And they said, wow, that's so cool. They said, yeah, tell Shooter that Watch My Bit is going to be feeding starving artists in the future. And you know what? Here's the thing. So what you're doing, you're offering your single, Nashville from Afar, for 50% off. Patrick Byrne, who owns Overstock.com, he's a smart guy because he's saying, you want to buy something from Overstock.com? I'll give you a discount if you use Bitcoin. That's the smart stuff that's going to draw people in. So if we have celebrities like you, and then let's say people like Russell Brand, let's say he has a new comedy routine, but it's only available on, let's say, Watch My Bit or some other platform where you can only pay with Bitcoin. Well, what are the fans of Russell Brand going to do? If they don't have Bitcoin, they're going to do what? They're going to go out and get Bitcoin, right? People who want to hear Shooter's new single or Shooter's new album, and they want to get 10% or 20% off, and the only way to do that is paying with Bitcoin, they're going to go out and they're going to find a way to get Bitcoin. So this is a way to draw people in, right?
Yes, and I think the other step that's really hard, and I watched this happen with some of my fans over the weekend, the hardest step in becoming part of Bitcoin is finding a place to get them. A lot of people stumble across scam sites. Even though there are resources online like We Use Coins and stuff that explain this, people don't really know how to get it. What I think would be an awesome move is if you were an artist that, say, was in a pretty good position, like Russell Brand, like what you could do is you could do a cross promotion with a wallet like Fiva, and then you could give a free like $2 of Bitcoin in the wallet to everyone that signs up based on your promotion.
Nice.
Because this way you're skipping, they don't have to go through that confusing step of like putting their bank account and getting cleared. Like you instantly like give them a couple bucks worth.
Nice.
And then I think that might be a good way to really instantly get people to easily convert. Tony Sakic from BitPay has become a really good friend of mine, and he's helped me a lot with a lot of things we're doing. and like Bitcoin Black Friday, they're very heavily involved in. Coming up on that day, we're going to offer our first 4 12-inch vinyls that we put out at the end of the year, or really earlier this year, which was the Jamie Johnson, Twiggy Ramirez, and me doing You're My Sunshine, and the B-side, which is like 13 minutes long of insanity. And then there's Waylon reissue called Right for the Time Remembered on yellow vinyl. And we have Jesse Coulter live from Kane's Ballroom. And then I have a live record. So we're going to have all 4 of those available for $10 in Bitcoin. Usually they're $22, but we're going to sell those for $10 in Bitcoin. And then we're going to sell the entire catalog that we have, digital releases, at 75% off with Bitcoin. And then we're going to also offer my newest record, Don't Wait Up for George, on vinyl and digitally, as well as a discounted rate. And then we have a thing that we're doing at the label called the BCR Mixtape, and it's a CD and a cassette. We have 2 different versions of it, but we had a lot of stuff we did for Record Store Day, and so like we've basically put all of that on this CD plus 2 new songs by me plus some other things. But there's like a Mick Foley 7-inch that we have coming out at Record Store Day that will be on this. Nice. And the Ron Jeremy classical piano thing we did, which is awesome and hilarious, is also on it. And we're going to take pre-orders for that at a really discounted rate as well on Bitcoin Black Friday. So we're going to kind of just go all out and really give like 50% to 75% off everything that we have, and even more in some cases, just so that we can hopefully inspire people to join this. And, Bitcoin Black Friday is usually for people that already have it, but we're going to do a lot of incentives to get people to really take it seriously.
I love it, man. And you know what? The funny thing is that when Bitcoin price is down, when it's low, people stay away from it. And we'll see it again, man, as soon as the price starts going up. When it clears 500 again and starts towards 6, 7, 8, which I have no doubt it will, and heads back towards 1,000, you're going to see everybody and their mother coming out of the woodwork and wanting to get into Bitcoin again. It's kind of a greed thing. You see it in other markets too, with commodities and investors and whatnot. But the good thing is that this time around, we have so many new companies set up. We have so many new people involved that when people do start looking into it, their friends say Bitcoin skyrocketed, and they start looking into it for the first time. There's all of this information that wasn't out there when you first found out about it, or when I first found out about it, right? Because, man, I remember when I first found out about it, same as you. Like, I wanted to get some, but I can't find any place to get some. I bought my first Bitcoin on eBay.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I bought my first one on eBay, and then I applied for Mt. Gox, and I got denied.
Oh, no.
And Coinbase was just starting, and they let me in.
Nice.
And I was like, all right. And I still use Coinbase. I mean, it's so easy. Like, I'll buy a third of one.
Yeah, me too.
And just kind of stockpile them and all that. And over the years with the mining and stuff, man, I've got a great little savings account, better than I ever had. I never kept up with money like that. And I have accountants that like deal with my checks and all this stuff. And it's so hard with that to keep up with the money. But I'll tell you what, I have a savings account on a Trezor that is just sitting there and protected. I'm such like a Mission Impossible nerd. I have like actually a paper wallet that's stuck to my wall, and I have keys hidden in different places all around Los Angeles. And if anything ever went down, I know I could transfer the Trezor to that key, and I could tell somebody, go here and look behind this painting that's stuck on this wall or whatever. Like, there's a key there and there's a second key over here. I mean, it's like a contingency plan, but it's something that I do believe will be long lasting.
You know what you've just inspired, man? You've just inspired everybody in Los Angeles to go out to all of the coffee shops and start looking behind the paintings for those, man. The search is on. Get out there, people.
I know. It's like that what was that free money guy who was giving away money in different areas of town? He did one here where he was like, put like $5,000 in an envelope and hiding it and giving hints where it was. And
that's funny stuff.
I'd love to ask you about being in Nashville. See, out here, it's a hotbed for this. I mean, there's 2 ATMs in town. There's Andreas Antonopoulos and all those people come to town and do these things. Like, there's a lot of activity in Los Angeles because California is very supportive of it and not going to regulate it. So I think that a lot of the action is happening in LA, not in Silicon Valley. So it feels like I also happen to be in the right town for it. So I'd like to know what Nashville is like. Yeah,
let me ask you first. Now, do you have any topless beaches there in the Los Angeles area?
No, but in Vegas, there's plenty of them.
Well, the reason I ask is because I think that, you know how people in LA look at sex. I mean, the kids on their way to school when they're 5 years old, they look out the school bus window and like they see prostitutes and all this crazy stuff. Well, I grew up in Indiana, and the same thing for people here in the Bible Belt in Tennessee. They'll ride that bus past cornfields fields, until they're in high school, and they'll never even see two people on the sidewalk kissing. So my point is that we're as progressive here when it comes to Bitcoin as we are when it comes to sex, and just like open-mindedness about sex. In other words, man, we don't have a Bitcoin ATM. We've got one high-end restaurant called Flight, World Dining and Wine, that accepts Bitcoin. And as far as I know, that's the only place in all of Nashville. Now, there's a couple places in Murfreesboro that are like 30 minutes south of here, but that's it, man.
See, that's wild, man. But I mean, at the same time, you say that, but like in this town, when I first moved here 15 years ago, there were still some prostitutes around, like Santa Monica Boulevard, but nowadays there's nothing like that. It's like, I miss that. I mean, it's like where it was in New York, and when Hot Times Square used to be seedy and like porno shops, and that's the way Hollywood Boulevard was even when I first moved here, and it's completely clean now. But the other side of your coin that you said that's not so fully true, I think, is that Nashville is getting so overrun by people. I mean, dude, it's insane, the traffic there and everything. Like, they're tearing down these buildings, bringing high rise. You guys are becoming like a little mini melting pot, like a little mini LA. So I wouldn't imagine that within a couple of years you'll have the prostitutes and the signs, and we'll be looking like Nashville out here. But
I think you're right, man. I think Nashville's growing so fast, people are afraid it's going to become an Atlanta. And one thing we don't like in the neighborhoods, like for instance, my neighborhood used to be more of a good eclectic mix of people. Maybe the guy living over there was a bartender, that guy's a musician, and we still have a lot of that. But as some of the older people die and their houses go up for sale, contractor comes in, tears it down, builds a McMansion, sells it for $450,000 to a doctor or a lawyer or a young IT guy doing IT for St. Thomas or Baptist Hospital. All of a sudden the demographic changes, and just in the past 2 years, the people selling baby strollers must be getting rich, man, because you're talking baby stroller central around here, and half the women, they're not just pushing the baby strollers, but they're made up like they're going to some kind of a fancy ball or something, and they're talking on their cell phones at the same time while they're pushing their baby carriage. I'm like, my God, I don't want to live in that kind of a neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's the shit that's scaring me, man.
It's funny because, see, out here, I live in Silver Lake, and that was like the hip spot in like Brooklyn. It's kind of like the Brooklyn of LA. Okay. And like but it was all bearded hipsters, like crazy with big mustaches and stuff. And I swear to God, if 90% of them here and in Brooklyn took off and moved to Nashville, because all of a sudden it's a lot better around here, and every time I go there, it's like bearded, curly mustache guys hanging out, drinking PBR. I'm like, hey, this isn't so bad.
Dude,
traded it out.
I was talking to someone a couple of weeks ago, and they promised me, they said, it was Austin for a while, right? And now it's Nashville. Trust me, it'll be someplace else, and they'll be going somewhere else. But I don't know, man. But just, that's so funny. All those bearded people, all the woodsman's beards and the handlebar mustaches that came here.
They left in droves to go to Nashville. I mean, I hear people all the time that'll be like, hey, man, I'm moving to Nashville next week. And I'm like, good Lord. I mean, and God, man, I grew up there and I missed it. When I moved here 15 years ago, there was a good 10 years where I was like, oh man, I just miss it. I just hope one day I can go back. Yeah. But now when I go back, and I don't mean to diss your town, because I love Nashville, what it was. And hey man, I would kill for San Antonio Taco Company. I would kill for it every day of the week. But I check out East Nashville, and I'm like, I can't believe how many people are here, and I can't believe this traffic. And it's not like
crazy.
It's not the Nashville like Broadway crowd. It's like the people who follow Jack White, including the Black Keys and all those people, and just what it's become is so wild and out there. And I mean, I just, I hope the best for it, but I really hope they don't tear down too many landmarks and try to turn the city into something else, and then all of a sudden everybody leaves and it's just a disaster. You know what I mean?
I agree, man. Nashville has a history of tearing down old landmarks. I don't remember the name of the building, but it was right there on West End at Blakemore, Wedgwood, whatever it is, where they tore down that beautiful old historic building and they built a Walgreens. They're like, man, this is ridiculous shit.
Yeah.
And so when you wrote those lyrics referring to East Nashville, that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, and I was just I mean, there's just so many, like, I just know a lot of musicians. My manager and I knew that I was going to probably get a lot of people mad at me because I have a lot of friends that live in that area. But the reality is that, like, I never fit in with any group, but like with that whole kind of crew of the new Nashville, like hipster thing, like those hipsters do not dig me. I'm like dumb mainstream to them for whatever that's worth, or I don't even know what their opinion of me is. But the point is that every time I go there, I feel like, for a lack of a better word, that I got raped. Like I got roofied, and I woke up and I just like gathering my stuff and going to the airplane. Like I just kind of have this feeling, and I just like, it's the truth. Every time I go there, I end up at the Gold Rush because I usually stay at the Lowe's, and I just walk to the Gold Rush. And my family's been going to the Gold Rush since my brothers and sisters were kids. And so it's like one of those things where I end up sitting over there with my friends, and then somebody every once in a while will say, let's go to Foo Bar in East Nashville or something. I'll be like, okay. And then we go and we get there, and it's just curly mustaches looking at me like like I'm a football player or something. And I just kind of like, okay, I think we should go. You know what I mean? I end up getting like too drunk because I'm not comfortable. And so I hear people talk like how much they love it, and it just annoys me because it just seems like people from like Florida that moved to Brooklyn 10 years ago were going like, God, it's just so awesome over here, or it's so awesome in Silver Lake. It's the same kind of like drivel. It's not people who have lived in East Nashville for years. Like, I loved Woodland Studios, and I had a girlfriend that lived right off of Woodland back there, back in the day when you didn't want to be out at night. There was a drug dealer that used to operate a ice cream cart, and at 3 a.m, he'd come rolling around. The entertainer would be playing, and you knew that, like, get out of the streets. Like, that area was rough, you know. And I just think that, like, there's a bunch of like dick sucking going on around there that just drives me crazy. So in that song, it was kind of like my "fuck you Nashville" song in a way. Just like, you birthed me from your loins, and now I go there, and I just feel like I couldn't be more of a foreigner, and it just made me feel bad. So it's like kind of my song of just saying, well, if I come there, you'll find me at the Gold Rush.
Well, I tell you what, man, I love the song, and
thank you.
Yeah, I completely feel what you're saying in the song. The song, if you haven't heard it, anybody listening, Nashville From Afar, a great single. You can get it for 50% off if you pay in Bitcoin. That's 50 cents. That's the deal of the century. And, you know, Shooter, I know it offends people, and I understand that. And you're not saying this is what it's like for everybody here, and you're not saying that there aren't good things here.
You nailed it on the head. It's really my experience of it. And, you know, at this point in time, I'm not a Nashvilleian anymore. I've spent almost half of my life, and in a couple of years, I will have spent exactly half of my life here in Los Angeles. And this is really, I moved here when I was 20. This is my drinking years. This is my you know, the bars that I know and the bartenders that I've known. I married one of the bartenders that I knew when I first moved here, who's the best wife any man could ever ask for. So I know my life is here, and I have children here, and I have all that, you know. So I do. I just, like, you know, I love you, but I have to visit you in spurts, and I prefer to be from afar, because I know every time I go there, I get sucked into some kind of thing that leaves me feeling bad.
God damn, I hate East Nashville. God damn, I love Guy Clark. I came too soon at the full moon, too late in Centennial Park. Should drain your soul and poke a hole in everything you are. Well, lucky you if you can get your view of Nashville from afar. She's a constant reminder there's always a bigger star. Well, the stars are getting smaller here at the Gold Rush Bar. She's always showing up in a wedding dress, in a dirty old beat-up car. Well, I'm down to screw, but I prefer my view of Nashville from afar. Yeah. I have played the Opry, I've talked to Eddie Stubbs, I buy my souvenirs at Manuel's, and my drugs at Ernest Tubbs. On the fire's all get clingy, feeling like a baby made of talk. Until the third man needs a fourth man, I need Nashville from afar. She's a constant reminder that there's always a bigger star. Well, the stars are getting smaller here at the Gold Rush Bar. She's squealing in her wedding dress in the back of some hillbilly's car. Always down to screw, but I prefer my view of Nashville from afar. Yeah, I'm down to screw, but I prefer my view of Nashville from afar.
And that's kind of essentially the sentiment of the song. I wrote it, honestly, I went to bed one night and I couldn't fall asleep, and the whole song kind of came to me, and I texted it to my manager, and he was like, I love that song. He's like, that first line is great. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I can put this out, and I didn't know where I was going to do with it. So when this BCR mixtape 2014 that we're releasing came up, I had that and another song that I had recorded, and I said, hey, this is it. Let's put them on here.
Nice.
And this would be a good example, good way to sell this thing with the Mick and the Ron Jeremy and all that. And because with those things, with Record Store Day, you print up a 1,500 supply of the vinyl, and that's it. You can put it digitally online later, but it never really gets a CD incarnation or another vinyl unless you decide to reprint it. So we knew that doing kind of a look back at the year release, I would like to do that every year with our label, because next year we have some of the wildest shit coming on. I mean, I did a 7-inch on Billy Ray Cyrus that I produced. I've got some stuff on Leroy Parnell. I'm going into the studio with Julie Roberts, who is a great country singer. I'm doing some stuff with Rob Zombie. I've got this Giorgio Moroder tribute record coming out at the beginning of the year, and I'm going to have another full length at the end of the year. So I know we're going to have and even Mr. Belding from the Saved by the Bell, we're doing a 7-inch on him for Record Store Day. He's a singer. So we've got some wild things, some funny things, some really, really awesome, beautiful projects. And I just know that I'd like to have a kind of look back every year. But I can tell you right now that I will be 100% dedicated to Bitcoin and to the development of the correct next step musically with Bitcoin. And I'm at a point where I can't sleep at night. It's like a Rubik's Cube that I can't solve about how exactly to use this blockchain to correctly do this deal where it'll protect the transparency of sales and there will be no middleman. Yeah. And it be as easy as that guy who's like, I want to hear that new Die Antwerp, where he's going to pull up his phone and be able to stream it just like he does with Spotify. Right. But the micropayments go directly to the artist. Yep. And that's right. And if he wants to buy it, he can buy it, but it's got value. So it'll happen. And I'm working with the Content Creators Coalition thing a little bit on the same kind of thing. So I just hope that we can find a solution. It would be nice to meet one of these Bitcoin venture capitalists that would invest in the development of this and it not be something like, BitTrax or whatever. I don't think that's the answer. I think that the answer has to be developed at a very fundamental base level of using the blockchain to copyright and permanent. I mean, look, the blockchain is the only time in history that we have a decentralized, undeletable record of history that is permanent and a ledger that is backed up a million times over across the world. So that changes copyright and publishing instantly. I can publish a book right now. I could attach the document in a smart contract, or I could send you a half a penny in Bitcoin and attach my new book. Yeah. And that would be forever logged and published in the blockchain. If someone wrote something later that was similar to it, there would be no arguing. It would stand up in court. Although it's never had to happen that way, it will happen that way. And I think that if we can figure out that way to do that musically, attaching the wallet, the owner to the music, to the record, and it'd be permanently done that way, and it'd be transparent. And I know that most artists and labels are not going to like that, but the reality is that if people can see when they pay 50 cents, that 50 cents is going to that wallet, and they know that artist is getting paid directly. I think once it becomes second nature and everyone just knows that everything they buy, it's always going to pay the artist, it'll just be easy, So I think it's coming for sure. Yeah, it's coming. And, this is such a world of the middleman. And, we wouldn't be so on fire about Bitcoin if historically humans were a little different, if our brains were a little different, and if the middleman didn't every time try to rip somebody off, try to rape somebody. If the middleman had always been fair, hey, we'll only take, 2, 3, 4, 5%. But that's not the way it is. With human nature, the middleman will take as much as they can. I mean, time has proven that. So, when we can get rid of the middleman, when we can have true peer-to-peer, hey, Shooter, I love your music. I want to give you some dollars or some Bitcoins or some gold for it. How about it? Yeah, that's fair. Shooter gives me the music. It's excellent. That's his end of the bargain. My end of the bargain is I give Shooter some money or some Bitcoin or some gold or silver. That's my end of the bargain. Done deal. We don't need somebody in the middle trying to take their cut, right? I mean, come on. Not at all, man. Not at all. And it's terrible the way it's set up because iTunes has done some good things to help us promote. I like some of the people that work at iTunes that I've met, but the reality is they take 30%. They came in when there was no one around. They staked their claim and they started this. Now they take 30%, but then you have TuneCore, who I use, who is worse than anybody. They charge you off the ass for every little mode. And then in 5 years, if you don't keep your account and you don't pay, your shit gets taken off the internet. What you really could be doing is putting it out there and people directly getting it. But, that will come. But the big, oh my gosh, that's happening is that now iTunes sales are slipping dramatically because everyone is streaming.
That's right.
So they've moved to this, and YouTube is getting in the music game, which is BS, because they want to just try and come in and squeeze it even harder for more cash grab, And so I think
you're right.
We'll get it there, but if you're establishing streaming connections that are directly from the artist, if there's a platform like the Open Bazaar project is really fantastic because the way that network works is just like the Bitcoin Core network. When you open it, you become a node and you're connecting the deal. That's what we need essentially in a streaming type app that works as a node. And then artists have an application that they run on their computer that's very easy to set up, similar to Open Bazaar, but it becomes a node for you, the artist, and it becomes a connection node for the listener.
Yep, absolutely.
So I think that we take a system like that, make it very easy, and I think within 5 years we can get rid of all of them. iTunes be wiped out, Spotify will be wiped out, just like everything in history.
Yep.
Just like progress, it takes us a while to figure out how to defeat the imperialists.
That's right.
It always happens, though.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I interviewed those guys with Open Bazaar a couple of weeks ago, and I love the whole concept of it. They call it, if eBay and Tor got together and had a baby.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean, it's still got some bugs, and like with me, I'm having some issues with the ports sometimes, like connecting to other stores, but that'll all be fixed by the first, really non-beta. And I think we should really be looking at that in the Bitcoin Core as the models for the music business, I think.
Absolutely, man. And you know what? If anybody's listening out there and you are a venture capitalist, hey, give Shooter a call, man, right?
Yeah, I don't want to be paid. I just want someone to actually be able to fund coders because, I stopped coding at one point, and I think that the right team of coders or people believe in this, that's all we need to make this happen. And I think once it happens, it'll be like Napster, but people will realize that it's paying the artists for what they're doing, and it's probably at a bigger discounted rate, because I'd give 30% to iTunes. I would be happy to cut my prices 30% for this. I would be happy to give part of that 30% to someone else. Now, this is where BitTunes has a good idea. And this is something I had actually had an idea for also as well. So when I saw this implemented, I said, maybe this one step closer. But one thing that BitTunes does, which is kind of interesting, is they and if you turn someone else on to me, and say you share my new album with a friend, or you let them hear it and they buy it, or they start streaming it, because you turn them on to it, you get like a 10% cut of the sale.
Nice.
And I think again, I give 30+% to iTunes and PayPal and all the different, I would be more than happy to give that 10% to the person who helped turn it on. And that gamifies it. It makes people want other people to buy records so that they can get some money back. And I think that model is really good. I think that's the way to accelerate the new platform.
I love it, man.
I would love to talk to anyone who's a developer. I would love to talk to anyone who has ideas like that,
So basically you need the guys coding, of course, but then you need someone like Shooter Jennings who says, look, I've been in the music business all my life, basically, right? You're 35 years old. You've been in the music business for 35 years, on and off, right? But
yeah, man.
They need somebody like you who knows about album sales, who knows about Spotify, who knows about YouTube, who knows about iTunes, who knows about these things, who knows the good, the bad, and the ugly of them, that can lead the coders to get it right. So you need a little bit of capital, you need a little bit of venture capital, something like this, man. I don't know if you have ever heard of this guy, lives in Los Angeles or Pasadena area. I knew him years ago in San Francisco. Brilliant guy. His name is Christian Jones, and I have not been able to find this guy. Yeah. So if you know of anybody that knows Christian Jones, he knows a ton about music. He knows a ton of people in tech. Super sharp guy. If you can find this guy, man, he'd be a great guy to work with. And I can't find him, man. Facebooking and all this stuff. I can't find the guy.
You know what? I'll look. I'll ask around, man. LA's a pretty small town, really. And another factor, and I will look for him because I think that'd be a good idea. I mean, anybody that I can meet, that I can, network with in this town about this, because, there's a couple people out there in the Bitcoin world that are just interested in trying to make money on it. And you usually have to kind of weed those people out. It's like the mining community. I mean, the reality with the miners is I run them for 3 months. and my bill is high and I make a marginal profit on that. It's really more to me about being part of the network, supporting the network and the technology. It's like buying these machines, opening them, rebuilding them and stuff. I'm into that. But anyway, but I think the other factor is too, man, and I'm not saying that I know this many people, but I do know, like for instance, Tom Morello is a person who's been a dear friend of mine for many years. And I've tried to tell him, and it's been a while since I had a conversation with him about Bitcoin. But when I did, if anybody, he would be the first to jump on board with this. But because he's not really a computer person or a tech person, at first it's just a little too much for him. So there's like got to be, I'm sure now he's heard more about it and everything like that, but I know that he's one of the first people that would champion it. And I think if there was a format, I know a lot of artists, man, that if there was this platform and it was in development that was very simple, that would work on either a mobile phone or a computer at home, and your manager could run your node or whatever it is, your record label. It has to be record label friendly, because we're never going to get Sony and BMG and all those people if it's just helping the artists out. You know, because there will always be a need for a record label as long as there will be a need to pay a publicist or things like that, if you haven't figured out a way to do it. I mean, I run my own record label. It's not like Sony or BMG. We don't have millions of dollars to work with, but we find people who are passionate and do things like that. But you have to make the model friendly to the record labels. But I do know that there are a lot of huge artists that if they realized there was this other system in the works and what it could do for the next generation of phone users and things like that, I know they would get on board with this. You know what I mean?
They'd be there. They'd be there. Absolutely, man. Unquestionably. And your record label is Black Country Rock, BCR, right?
Yeah, that's it. And BCRmedia.com is where you can buy everything and kind of keep up with what we're doing. I've had the label as a name since 2008, and I've owned the masters of everything we've done, but it wasn't until the end of last year that my manager, the Colonel John Hensley, who's you should hang out with, by the way. He lives in Bowling Green, and he comes to Nashville quite a bit. And
oh, cool, man.
I'll make sure you guys go hang out because you'd love him. He's a wild motherfucker. But he and I are like best friends, and we became best friends years ago and just started working together and everything. And he really was like, look, we're going to make this a real label. We're going to get you away from all these other things. And we've done that. And we really made a lot of vinyls. We made a lot of releases. We had 16 releases over the last year. We're going to have another at least that many next year, if not more. And we're really just trying to show people that we're not the type of person where if you like want to become a big star, you come to us, because it's not necessarily going to be that way. We do have a lot of new artists and older artists. I have a band called Last Days from New York that I produced their record. That's coming out. You know, we're using kind of the third man model a little bit, but our focus is on the future, and our focus is also, you know, on changing those things, incorporating those things, Bitcoin and all that, as well as, you know, doing vinyl and even cassettes, and we still do CDs. We're, you know, but the reality is like what I want to prove is that it's just mostly a bunch of bullshit that everyone's being fed. And if you want to really make real music, you can put it out there. You can use different methods to get people's attention. And it doesn't have to be this same old game, this same old, like the Americana Awards, or the same old, like, nonsense in the box thinking that everyone operates on. Yeah. Because that's a dead model, and we are moving towards the future. And if you don't get on board with Bitcoin musically, you don't get on board with new technology musically, then you're never going to function. So that's what we just want to be a label that is a label of the future. And we also want to be a label that's going to think and get artist music out there and do everything we can to kind of embrace new coming technology and maybe even lead the forefront in many ways.
I love it. You're a future-looking company, and I have to ask you, if you will, for just a second, to go back in the past with me, man, because I moved to Nashville in 2000.
It's when I moved out.
Oh, man. So I was hanging out with these cats over at Brown's Diner. I don't know if you know Brown's Diner.
Oh, I love that place.
Yeah, you gotta love it.
I used to go there all the time.
I'm telling you, so I'm hanging out with these cats, and this guy comes up to me, and I'm wearing this little cowboy hat. This guy comes up to me and says, your hat's too small. And I misheard him. I said, my head's too small? He said, no, your hat's too small. And this guy's name was Boots Hill. I don't know if you know Boots Hill. He used to be a drummer. I don't know for who, but he owned a little place down on 2nd called Windows on the Cumberland. Anyway, yeah. Boots... Yeah, this is crazy, right? So Boots says, this is going to kill you, dude. Boots says to me one night, I'm going to take you out and show you Nashville, man. I'm like, whatever, let's go. So we go out and we're drinking, and he takes me to, I don't even know where it was now, but you probably know where it was. He said, I'm going to take you to see Shooter Jennings. I said, who's Shooter Jennings? He said, you idiot, that's Waylon Jennings' son. And I said, you're kidding. So we go in there, and you're there. You've got this long, like, red velvet frock coat on. You've got long black hair. You're sitting down at the keyboard and you're playing. I'm like, what? And Waylon's in the audience. And I don't know if your mom was there or not. I'm freaking out. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Right. And
I know exactly what you were at the Outer Limits.
Was that it?
That
You're
big
killing
complex where they had all those different clubs and they had
oh, that's right, man. You're
had
killing
like
me.
zebra skin on the walls. Like that was my old band, and that was right before we moved to LA. It was right before.
It was so cool. I remember being there and thinking, this is Nashville, man. This is not what I thought about Nashville. I just thought it was twang, and this dude's up here doing this kind of indie stuff. I don't even remember what kind of stuff you were doing, but I was blown away by it. And I remember asking Boots, should I take my hat off so people in back can see? He's like, this is Nashville, man. You don't take your hat off for anybody.
Oh, man, what a trip,
is that
dude.
crazy
You were
or
at that
what?
show. It was like one of the few shows that I ever played in Nashville with that band. And I mean, embarrassingly, I remember it being not that awesome of a show, but it was really a showcase for John Kolodner, who had come to town to check out our band. But
okay.
But like that's so funny. That was like a very weird moment that you got to see there at that show. And then we moved. I mean, that's what a trip that we're talking and that you were there. And dude, Brown's Diner, when I was in high school, I used to go there all the time, and I could get beer. And I was underage. And I did those burgers, dude, were the best burgers I've ever had in my life. I miss those.
They're still the best burgers in the world, in my opinion, man. I haven't been back there in probably a year. I got to get back. They expanded with that whole big expansion, but there's still, I think, wasn't it just a trailer? It looked like a railroad car, just the smallest little place. Man, I had so much fun. I used to walk from there or stumble down into Hillsborough Village to go to the Villager Tavern, right?
Oh, yeah. I love that place too, man. Wow. I used to go to the Iguana. I remember over there. Man, I love that. I've heard that Brown's Diner has become like the hipster spot, so it's always really full.
Oh, that's sad, man.
Yeah, I know, man. And you know, it's so funny. Like, you know, where Melrose Pool Hall is. That's like my favorite. That besides the Gold Rush, that's my other favorite place to go, and it's always has been. When I was leaving town, we used to drink like Mind Erasers there all the time. And over there, that area, dude, that used to be all whorehouses. Like when I was a kid, there was like a string. There was like Don's Whirlpool and like Tokyo Sauna, and like there were friends of mine. Like I never banged a whore, but there was a lot of friends of mine that were in like 18, 19 years old that would go over there and get hookers drunk late at night and stuff. Like
that's on 8th, right?
Yes. Yeah, they shut them all down and it's now all, you know, nice and shit. But that back in the day, like you want to talk about like prostitutes in Los Angeles, I was used to it when I got here because of that shit. You know?
Damn, man, that's craziness.
Yeah, man.
I love that stuff. Right there by where, you know, you're talking. Now, what was the little bar that was right there by Melrose?
Sutler.
The Sutler. So the Sutler's gone, which is totally sad, right?
We played a show there, actually, with once I had my Put the O Back in Country record out, when we came back to Nashville, we did like a surprise show at the Sutler, and I loved that place. But the, you know, Melrose Pool Hall, the bar and everything is all still intact. They have a new Melrose that serves food across the ways, but it's still awesome. You can smoke in there and drink, and it's a good old time. I still support the Melrose Pool Hall big time. Anytime I do an interview in town, I make them go there.
That's hilarious, man. Good old memories. There's still little pockets of Nashville that are cool, and I know that when the next big city comes on, maybe it'll be Asheville, right, which is just down the way here from Nashville. Just take the N off of Nashville, and it's Asheville, folks. That's the place to be, Asheville. That's the new place to be. Maybe the town will get back to chilling out a little bit and getting back to its roots, and maybe the hipsters will be out of Browns, and you and I can meet there for a burger sometime, man.
Man, I would love that. I also hope that they don't tear down too many old like Nashville staples before that happens.
Yeah, man. That shit's killing me.
But we'll see what happens, man. You know, I have faith in the town. It's just getting really big, so it kind of scares me. Like the population and the downtown area is like becoming very metropolitan. So I kind of just, you know, I like my big city of LA, but I'm used to it. They're not pulling any punches. Like there's definitely like a lot, like no music scene here at the moment, which I kind of like because like, I don't know if you know Jonathan Tyler and the Northern Lights, but Jonathan Tyler lives here, and a lot of great artists live around here. Hellbound Glory, some really amazing bands. You know, I get to see them and hang out and work with them. And lately I've been working with a lot of local people too that I really, all the years I've been here, kind of ran away from it and went other places. And now I'm really embracing the town I live in. And so I'm really hoping that this town has a renaissance a little bit, which I think it's going to, because the movie industry is tanking because of television. They've got like, you know, the Hills reality star thing that was going on for so long is kind of tanking because everyone wants like stuff like Duck Dynasty and Honey Boo Boo. So I think like we're gonna see this town kind of start to make a renaissance. And I'm really hoping for it because there's so much beautiful history here. I feel like Charles Bukowski, who's one of my favorites, and I feel like him on a daily basis. That's my Twitter avatar is him. And there's so much in John Fonte and stuff, such beautiful history in this town that I just absolutely am in love with. So I'm hoping that wherever the hipsters go, they don't come back here, and we start moving this town towards old school Hollywood musically and everything, you know.
Dude, I love that so much, and I love that you brought up Bukowski. I'm a huge Bukowski fan from way back, and in fact, I just remembered I wrote a song about Bukowski, man. I'd love to send that to you. Can I send that to you? Would that be cool?
Oh, I would love that. I would love to hear that.
Okay, cool. I'll definitely send it your way. I think you'll dig it. It's like could be like a big band tune. Anyway, yeah, Charles Bukowski, man, gotta love him. Did you ever see that documentary? I saw that at the Belcourt some years back. It was called Born Into This. Amazing documentary about his life. Did you see that?
Yes. It was so good, dude. That was such a good documentary. I've also seen the other two films. There's the Barfly, of course, and then there's the one that has Matt Dillon plays him in it. It's called...
I never saw that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Honestly, I fell asleep in it 2 times, but after I got through it, it is actually good. I mean, our label, our logo, we have a bunch of stickers and things that say "Love is a Dog from Hell."
Nice.
That book is kind of our calling card. And just to clarify, I love Jack White's music. I love Third Man, what they're doing. But when we really launched BCR, we went and left a note in Jack White's mailbox that was a photograph of me and John. And we both have met Jack and love him. But just for fun, we wrapped it up on the inside of the front page of Love is a Dog from Hell and said, "Hey, we're in town."
Nice.
And, we wanted to talk about a joint project at the time, but it was kind of our announcement that we were in town. And now, like, that book has become kind of our, like, any artist that we work with, we give them a copy of that book that we sign and hand it over to them. And, like, it's just kind of it's like our Catcher in the Rye or something. And so we kind of always tie everything back to that book that we do with BCR. I love Bukowski, man.
Oh, yeah, man. You just got to love him. All right, so let's see. You're living in Southern California, and you're married. You have kids, is that right?
I am married. I have 2 kids by another woman, my ex, but that's, the best it possibly could be. And my wife and I are old friends, got married recently in the last couple of years. And yeah, man, we live over almost all the way to Echo Park. I have a studio in my house here. There's a studio down the street from me that I use to do all the live, like drums or record a live song. We do that all on tape. So I've finally got a situation where I can record and make music at any point in time that I wish. And
Nice.
I mix everything. And we have a guy named Gilky Correo who lives in Malibu. That's my mixing buddy. And we have a little team here. And what I really love that we did is we really moved completely into our own independence, and we ship. We used to use Topspin, and this is another company that like takes all these percentages and charges you out the ass to have them fulfill orders and takes a cut of all those sales. And we set up a warehouse, and we set up a studio in the warehouse. We set up a studio at my house. We ship our own stuff, and we're completely in control. We're able to take our Bitcoin and keep it. And we can even pay our employees in Bitcoin. So
that's so cool, man. I love to hear that. I love to hear that about that independence. And I really do think that is the model for the future. A future where more individuals have the freedom to own their own companies. And then, of course, to tie it all in back to Bitcoin, individual companies like Uber and Lyft that are moving away from centralization. They're not decentralized, but they're moving in the direction of decentralized companies. I think this is the future, man. You're part of it.
Yeah. The CEO of Uber is a big Bitcoin fan, I believe, from what I've read, or at least I would not doubt very soon if you'll be able to pay Uber right out of your phone wallet and it'll be over with.
Sweet, man. I'd love that. Yeah. That would be so cool.
Yeah, I mean, BitPay just introduced that point of sale system that's got the near field communication. So, like, you just tap that to be in an Uber and just be able to tap it against them and pay them and tip them. That's the end of it. Or I guess you prepay with Uber, but like even in the cab, just to be able to tap that, it'll happen, man. These services are coming around. People realize that they're going to get more business. I mean, dude, because I took Bitcoin, it's like scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, because I believe in Bitcoin and I took it for that song. Cryptocurrency News posted it, and we got 150 sales that day just from that.
Nice.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great money that we put right into an ad that we're taking out in a magazine for our stuff in Europe. Like, you get paid on the dot, because all these TuneCore and everybody, they pay you 3 months later for your stuff, so you have no power. But with Bitcoin, you get paid that day, and I can turn around and pay for advertising, and I can turn around and pay for things for other artists that day. It just makes everything so easy.
Well, it also makes a lot of sense. It's keeping the money in your pocket, right? And you're the content creator. So, hey, listeners, I have between 8,000 and 10,000 listeners, guys and gals. I want you to check out this new single from Shooter Jennings. It's called Nashville from Afar. You can get it for 50 cents. That's 50% off the $1 price if you pay with Bitcoin. How can they find that, Shooter?
bcrmedia.com. It's right there on the front page. And the other thing about it is that I thought was cool is that when you download it with Bitcoin, the actual album cover has a small black Bitcoin logo on the bottom right-hand corner on your phone. So
Nice.
it indicates that you bought it with Bitcoin. It's right there, bcrmedia.com, and that we will have a whole, Bitcoin Black Friday section that will be popping up soon. You'll be able to go to town and get almost everything at an insanely big discount if you use Bitcoin. So if anybody likes what we're doing, go there on a Black Friday.
Nice, man. And that's Black Country Rock. That's bcr.com, right?
bcrmedia.com.
Okay, bcrmedia.com. All right,
Yep.
man. Great stuff. Hey, we've been listening to Shooter Jennings, musician, poet, radio host, record label president, and general all-around Southern rock and badass, and I might add, a heck of a really nice guy. Shooter Jennings, thank you so much for being on Bitcoins and Gravy.
Man, thank you. This has been an awesome discussion, and I'll have Roger send you my email address on the Skype thing after we get done here, and stay in contact with me, and hopefully we'll get to see each other when I come through Nashville. I'll be coming through next year for sure if I don't come through before the end of the year. So
Sounds like a plan, man, and we'll go have that burger at Brown's Diner and a couple of ice-cold beers.
Oh, I'm in.
All right,
I
man.
am. Thank you, man. What a great time. And thank you for supporting us,
Hey, man, I believe in what you're doing out there, so keep on keeping on, brother. That's all I can say.
Yeah, you bet, man. You bet we will. Thanks a lot, brother.
You too, brother.
All right, bye.
Bye. I know that it may sound absurd, but I have for you a magic word. And today's magic word is rock. R-O-C-K. I'd like to thank my guest on today's show, Shooter Jennings. Shooter, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to interview with Bitcoins and Gravy. I know the listeners loved every minute of it. And if you'd like to get in touch with Shooter, you can find him at Black Country Rock Media. That's bcrmedia.com. Go to the site, check it out. You'll like it. It's a great site. While you're there, you can use your smartphone or smart device to buy that single you heard on the show today. That's right, Nashville from Afar. If you pay with Bitcoin, you'll get 50% off. That means you can get this great single right now as an MP3 sent right to you for only 50 cents worth of Bitcoin. I can't tell you what that is in Satoshis. I'm not that smart. But anyway, check it out. Black Country Rock Media, bcrmedia.com. Black Country Rock is a multiple format recording company. That's right. You can go there and get everything from digital downloads to CDs, cassette tapes, and yes, even vinyl. You remember that, the black disc that spins around and makes sound? Man, I used to love that album art. How about that? The good old days. The good old days are here again, folks. BCR Media. That's bcrmedia.com. Thanks again, Shooter, and we will be talking to you down the road. Take it easy, brother. To find out more about my guests and sponsors, check out the show notes on the Let's Talk Bitcoin page, on SoundCloud, or on bitcoinsandgravy.com. Thanks for tuning into the show, and if you really do like the show and you aren't just faking it, please tell your friends about it or send them a link to the show. And of course, I offer a number of ways for you to download all of the past podcasts. You can go to letstalkbitcoin.com or directly from SoundCloud, or you can go to the website, which of course is bitcoinsandgravy.com. If you've enjoyed the show, please take a minute to leave a review on SoundCloud. And remember, it's your reviews and comments that help new listeners discover Bitcoins and Gravy, plus all the other great podcasts, articles, and links that can be found on the Let's Talk Bitcoin network. I also thank you for your generous donations in Bitcoin or Litecoin that help me keep the lights on and coffee in the kettle. Signing off now from East Nashville, Tennessee, I'm your host, John Barrett, with my trusty companion, Maxwell. Say goodbye, Maxwell. Wishing you all a great week. Y'all be good to each other out there now, and remember, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men and women to do nothing.
Well, Portland was hot in the wintertime, and the rain and the tears that poured down my face. Oh, I wish you were here. I wish I still drank beer and have one for every year that I'm falling from grace. And I'll make you all laugh with a joke and a smile, sing you a song of the years I went wild. But my heartache might hide on a sweet melody. I'm living in a minor key. I'm living in a minor key. I still got a little swagger in my step, and I still think Hank Williams is as good as it gets. Oh, when I was younger, I had a hunger, and I chased the thunder to the storm of regret. I'll make you all laugh with a joke and a smile, sing you some songs about the times I was wild. Though my heartache might hide behind a sweet melody,